Hello again. I'm here for like the third time in one day, just because I finally found something that's actually, you know, like meaningful to to post about. Um, this is something that I have personally believed for a long time, and it's something that I've had multiple arguments about, a lot of debates. People disagree on it because it's a contentious issue. And the question really is, I'm going to be relying a little bit on an old essay that I wrote, but it is old, so I'll just be kind of looking to it for notes. So if you see me looking a lot, that's why. And the question is, for me, is does evil even exist? And this is relating to morality and good versus evil and all that, which is really good in movies. But years ago I began to question, is that even a valid outlook on how the world works? Because it just sometimes doesn't seem that way. I don't see blacks and whites. I see shades of all colors, not just shades of gray, shades of all colors. It's more in depth than even just shades of gray. People like to use that term to mean, oh, you're morally vague or nebulous. It's not that you're so much that you're nebulous. It's just that you don't limit yourself to black and white, which for me I think is fine. And I know that a lot of people around Temple of the Jedi Order feel the same way. A lot of us tend to be gray Jedi, or gray in our philosophical moral beliefs. Now, a lot of times, people assume immediately when you tell them that you don't believe in good and evil, or you don't believe in evil, that you're saying it's okay to be immoral. Now, that's not true. I believe morality is a lie, but that's amorality, not the same thing as immorality. Immorality would be, complete and utter immorality would be doing whatever you want, regardless of the consequences to anybody, including yourself. Amorality means that you can have moral views, but you don't believe in. At least this is what it means to me. You don't believe in a moral objective moral truth. And that's something that I believe very strongly in, because there's the age-old question of, if a man steals some food to feed his starving family, should he go to jail? Should he be punished for it? Well, you're always going to wind up having someone that says no, he should feed his family because that's his first obligation in life, and to not do so would be immoral. And then you have the judge that's black and white the other way, saying yes, that's wrong, he needs to go to jail. And then you have people in the middle that are like, well, it kind of depends on the circumstances. Is the family really starving, or could they go, without that thievery, or could he maybe get a job, or have his wife get an extra job? So in the interest of keeping the video somewhat short, because I know this will go long when I start talking about these kinds of things, just because it's such a heavy topic. Um, I mean, I was raised Christian. I was raised in the view that pretty much anything that went against the Almighty, God, was evil, or at least sinful and bad, and to be avoided. I mean, evil was considered a real thing, could happen to anyone or be committed by anyone at any given time. Um, until the last couple of years, I never really gave much thought to questioning that. It wasn't. I always questioned other things. I was always questioning things. That's just how I am. But that I never. Obviously there's evil. People kill people. People rape. People do horrible things to other human beings and to animals and the planet itself. So, it's kind of obvious. Yeah, evil exists. But I started thinking about it. I read some essays and other literature, and I just stopped seeing things in monochrome. Not black, not white, not gray. There's all kinds of colors around us. Why constrain yourself to an outdated and outmoded system of morality? Sure, have morals, have a moral system, have your own beliefs about what's right and wrong, but know that there's no objectivity there. It's nobody has one right view of objectivity, and if there is a moral objective, um, that's 100% true all the time. If there's a line that when you cross it you become bad or become good, or when you're right on the line you're neutral, then how do we know when we've found it? That's my biggest argument, is how do we know? It's like, how do we know when we've proved God? You don't know. You can't prove it. And if you have proven it, you don't know it. So ergo, you can't prove it. It's impossible. It's unknowable. It's fundamentally, by its very nature, a product of the mind, solely of the mind. Animals have no concept of other animals have no concept of good and evil. Animals live. That's it. I guess if you wanted to break it down, dying is evil and living is good. Whatever it takes to live is within um, acceptable domains of activity. So you can't say that, to kill someone else is bad. Well, it depends on the circumstance. Everything is subjective. Everything morally, to me and to many other people, is entirely subjective. There's no objectivity available to us because we're all raised in different cultures. We're all exposed to different traumas and things that we take to be bad. Well, instead of bad and good, why not look at it as correct action, striving to do what is, it's a utilitarianism basically, striving to do what does the most good for the most people, or at least doesn't harm the most people. Um, you don't necessarily have to accept the whole, treat others better than you treat yourself. You can treat yourself good first before you help others. You have to be healthy to help others, but at the same time, you don't want to be doing something like running around with a machine gun blowing people to pieces, because you're just detracting from social advancement and social order, which is ultimately bad for society in general. So it's not so much that doing that would be bad per se, it's just that it's not the correct thing to do in polite society. Just like yelling fire in a movie theater when there's no fire is incorrect action, but that does not carry any connotations of bad. I've heard this argument from moralists all the time, that correct and incorrect and good and bad are the same thing. No, they're not. A scientist can be correct or incorrect, and it's not good or bad. Results are still results. Actions are still actions. Hypotheses are hypotheses. You're still winding up with an end result, and you still have the same data. It's solely your interpretation that makes something bad or good. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole topic. Taoism has a lot to do with it. Hellenismos has a lot to do with it. Ancient cultures that didn't have such strong beliefs and such strong convictions about, or they did have strong convictions, but they didn't have um, what am I trying to say here? They didn't have such a black and white perspective. The Chinese never did, except for maybe possibly you could argue that Confucianists are very black and white because they're so organized and so ordered. But most ancient philosophies were much more fluid than ours today, and I don't quite grasp the moving from fluid to constraint. Now, that's not the same as moving from chaos to order, because it wasn't chaos back then. Philosophy wasn't. It's just that it was flexible, and I think we've lost a lot of flexibility in our ways of life and our ways of thinking, which is a shame, because then we wind up with the groups like Westboro Baptist Church and tyrants and the things that we have. Well, if we accept that all actions are plausible and to a degree acceptable even, um, and stop decrying people, including to go Godwin's law on it, including Nazis. Well, the Nazis thought what they were doing was perfectly good, true Nazis, and the allies that were fighting them, if they were truly tied to the cause, they thought they were doing the right thing by killing Nazis. So there's really, you see that's all subjective, complete opposite, polar opposites, and they're entire nations of people. These are hundreds of thousands, millions of people that can't agree on it and end up going to war over it. Which, I'm not saying that it was wrong to stop the Nazis from what they were doing, because it absolutely was right to stop them. It was correct action to step in, but it wasn't that there was an element of evil, because evil was created in the mind. It doesn't exist in reality. So before I get too more repetitive, I'll go ahead and cut it off there. That's my 2 cents. A little bit more than 2 cents. You got some extra change there, but do with it what you will. Comment as you will, and I hope it, at least provokes some thinking among everybody, and especially those that are clinging to this Cro-Magnon evolved trait of pigeonholing and judging others based on what you hear or what you see from them, rather than talking to them directly and getting the straight talk, so to speak. So that's that. And I hope it was interesting and thought provoking. And if you've heard it all before, then you can stop me halfway through. In any case, have an unbelievable day.